Welcome to the Fish Bowl, right, everybody? My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're going to be doing Louisiana Ragin Cajuns Softball, entering their last series of the year, taking on Southern Miss. Ragin Cajun Baseball got a series win this past week against Georgia Southern, and now they're going to be taking on the other Georgia team, Georgia State, in a three-game series this week. And, Ragin Cajuns Softball, Jalen, got a big series win against Texas State. And when I mean big, it was a big win for them because going in there, I didn't think they were going to be able to do it, but they managed to be able to pull it off. All 1 point run games, I might add, winning 5-4 on that Friday night matchup and winning 4-3 on the Sunday night matchup. Saturday dropped it 2-3. And if you look at this softball team, Jalen, they came off a sweep against South Alabama, had a loss against number 4 ranked Texas A&M. But if you look at it, they're kind of on a streak a little bit here. They're 5-2 in their last 7 games here. Last 10, if you look at it, they're 6-4. But that last seven is definitely more of a tale of what is coming along with the heat. The Cajuns seem like they're heating up at the right time. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, Chief, I think the Cajuns are kind of heating up at the right moment, at the right time. And we've been talking about this for, I would say, a long time now with the season going. With the Cajuns right now, and we talked about, like you just talked about it, Chief, when it came to the matchups against Texas State. Hey, one-run games. I mean, it doesn't. I wouldn't say it doesn't get any better than that for this Cajun softball team. I think so far through the season, it's been kind of up and down, up and down, up and down. But hey, they pulled off two or three against Texas State after losing a tough one to Texas A&M. But Texas A&M is one of the best teams in the country, so you can't really fault them for that one. But to beat the Texas State team 2 or 3, to go to San Marcos and only lose the second game by 1 run, I mean, I still think the Cajuns are building some momentum, and they have to get into that last series against Southern Miss. So I think Chiefs so far they're building momentum, and hey, the Sun Belt tournament is right here. It's time. It's the last series, so hey, I think they have a big shot to make some noise in this tournament.
Well, I think we need to give a shout out for Emily Smith's 3-run home run, and that was able to secure the 4-3 win there. I mean, 3 runs was basically, and Maddie Hayden's game-ending leaping catch. That's what sealed the deal for the Cajun on Sunday. There, they're finally over 500 completely this year. They're 25-24, 11-10 in Sun Belt play. But if you look at the RPI, and it's not going to get better because they're playing Southern Miss this week. RPI 102. But there's still a lot to play for here. At large, you can kiss it goodbye, in my opinion, because RPI of 61, you're not getting in on there. They would have to play, I think even if they played Coastal and Texas State, and they would be able to beat them both. I still don't think they would get a good enough jump on RPI to actually get them into it here. But let's bring this up, Jalen. I'm gonna share my screen with you here so we can look at this here and kind of go a little bit deeper into it here. Gonna pull this up here. Let's look at these standings here real quick here. I think this is gonna pull. Yeah, this should. All right, Jalen, you seeing it right now?
Let me see. Yep, it just pulled up. I'm looking right at it.
All right, so got UOM, Texas State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Marshall, and the Cajuns. There's a tie between App State and the Cajuns here. But look, I have a little bit of information that I think might be interesting for people to know here. So, um, ULM, Texas State, Coastal, Marshall, and the Cajuns are the only teams in this entire conference that have not been swept in any series this season. They're only the 5 teams out of everybody competing. So, breaking it down a little bit further, they're the only teams that have one win over everybody else in the conference. They've at least beaten everybody, basically. Granted, they have not, like the Cajuns haven't played App State in conference, but they have got at least one win in every series they have played in, which same goes for UOM, Texas State, Coastal, and Marshall. So with the conference tournament being a complete single elimination format, I would bet money on one of those 5 teams to win the conference. But if you look at the standings, UOM number 1, Texas State number 2, Coastal being number 3. and Marshall being right there at number 5, and the Cajuns being right there at 6. So that looks like to be, I would say, being the favorites here. And I think the Cajuns winning 5 out of 2, being one of them, dropping one against the top 5 team in the country. So if you look at just conference wise, they're 5-6. That 5 wins is important here because South Alabama, they're kind of toward the back end of this conference list. You see right here, they're really toward
Hmm.
like, second to last. They swept them, so you would think they would sweep James Madison as well. That is part of what's going on here. Now I'm going to bring us back on screen completely here. Let me get us back going where we are. Oh, I don't know if I need to do this or not. Let's see. That's just sharing my screen. That doesn't make sense. Let's just stop share. Yep. I was like, where's the button? Okay. So we're back on screen now. So I think looking at it here, in this regard here, the Cajuns, the worst they can finish is, depending how this series goes, they sweep Southern Miss 14-10. They can't win the regular season Sun Belt Conference because well, in the grand scheme of things, they would need a lot of help. Very highly unlikely. Let's say Cajuns go sweep Southern Miss, they'll be 14-10. They beat ULM in a series, okay? They have beaten them in a 3-game series in softball. So you have Texas State right there at 13-8. Coastal's up there as well, which the Cajuns lost that series at Coastal. So I mean, it's not likely they would get up that high, but in the realm of possibility, they basically need everybody to completely get swept this weekend, basically, to kind of sum it up. Like, UM needs to get swept. Texas State, if they would manage to end up with the same record as the Cajuns, if they won the game, Coastal, they lost the series at them, so they got to make sure they lose out. So, more than likely, Cajuns are probably not winning the regular season Sunbelt title. But what I'm trying to get at is, what seed are you going to be? Now, that's important because if you look at the championship standings here, Cajuns being in that 6th seed spot, I'd seen a PDF somewhere. I think they have one. Uh, oh look, there's the bracket. I want to pull up the bracket because the bracket's in cool to see. Is there a full? I want to see if I can make this full screen. I guess I can't. But yeah, so that 6th seed, you automatically go to the quarterfinals if you're in that 6th seed. So if you're looking at the standings, you're right there with App State, and you don't want to drop to that 7th seed. You gotta beat App State this weekend, like basically in terms of wins. You got Southern Miss, good draw for you as well. Um, but App State, they got a very tough matchup with Coastal being in there too. And Coastal, they're in a good spot to actually get up there and compete for a championship there because they're right up there in softball. And they're only two games back. They could very well take it over this weekend if ULM were to stumble. So, and I mean ULM lost 2 games, so it's interesting to see how all this is going to go here. So, Jalen, what you think about this here?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, Chief, when it comes to that 7th spot, you don't want to drop below that. The Cajuns are right there at the peak. Like you said, ULM, Texas State, Coastal, Georgia, Marshall, Cajuns, right there. That's your 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure I count this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right there, like you talked about. So I think this is a must-win series right here against Southern Miss. It's not, and I would say it's not the end of the world if the Cajuns lose one, but I think if they lose one and App State is able to sweep whoever their matchup, then they can move right above the Cajuns, and the Cajuns don't make it straight to the quarterfinals. So every seed has an advantage, but like you said, the top 6 gets to the quarters. I mean, you're at the quarters, then it's the Sims, then it's the finals. I mean, you can't get any better than that. So I think the Cajuns' mindset is we have to sweep Southern Miss. We have this last series in the regular season at home at Lansing Park in front of the fans. I mean, it's honestly a win or go home situation. I see it playing against Southern Miss.
So if they lose two games, you think they get eliminated? They don't make it to the finals. That one extra game, you think that might play a role in it?
Yes, I think that one extra game plays a huge role. I think if App State jumps ahead of them in that sixth spot, I think the Cajuns ultimately they might not be able to make it to a final because that'll be an extra game that they have to play.
Yeah, it's really tough. You want to bring out your best pitchers and stuff whenever you get to the postseason here because the Cajuns they have to win this tournament to get in the NCAA tournament. If they don't win it, they're done. Because I like I said before, the way that RPI is, you want to get a top 40 RPI to get in that large. And you're gonna have some teams that are gonna upset their conference tournament. It happens every single year. I think in baseball a couple of years ago, Tulane had a garbage record. They won the American Conference, American Athletic Conference, and they get into the big dance and they steal a bid from somebody. So that's it happens. It does happen to people. So I mean, that'd be very interesting to see how all that goes there. I think it could very well happen to the Cajuns. They don't win this year, but in regards, I think Coastal might. There might be only one team in the Sun Belt getting in from the softball perspective because Texas State 55, you're on the bubble. I hate to say that to Texas State fans if you're watching this. I think you're on the bubble. I think you're gonna have to win the tournament yourself just to guarantee your safety. I think Coastal is the only one that could possibly get in winning at large, and their RPI is 46. But if you look at Coastal, um, and how they are. Their strength of schedule is 80 and their non-conference is 84. If they had the Cajun strength of schedule, I would be a lot more feeling better about it when the committee starts looking in deeper into these teams and stuff because the SEC is gonna put 14 of their like 16 teams. They might even put all their teams in there because of how crazy it is out there. But it's the way these numbers are lining up, it's not looking really good for Coastal at all because I just think that's just the way it is. That's just 46, 80, 84, strength of schedule 84, non-conference, I mean, and strength of schedule 80. So it's not looking good. So I just think that the Cajuns they have to sweep Southern Miss this week. I think just to guarantee their
Absolutely.
safety for sure in that sixth seed. So let's look ahead, Jalen, to baseball. Any last words on softball?
Um, yeah, I just want to say for the Cajuns just to be able to win the series. They just have to keep hitting the ball, like you said. Get your best pitchers out there, but make sure that they're good and ready before let them rest up and get ready before the Sun Belt tournament. Because the ultimate goal right now, I think, is to sweep Southern Miss, and then you move forward and play some playoff softball.
I mean, Emily Smith had a good game Sunday, and being a freshman like that, coming along real strong. Hopefully, she stays around in Lafayette. Hopefully, transfer portal doesn't get to her, because like that's what builds your program. Young players coming in like that, contributing, and that's what you hope to see around in Lafayette here. And Gabby Stutes as well. She's a freshman as well, right? A Lafayette local at St. Thomas More, so hopefully she stays around too, as well. I think that I like what I like what's going on there for the Cajuns here. I just hope that Allison Habits and like people come to her. And with her being a local person and maybe recruiting the state of Louisiana very well, that could be something that I noticed that with Dr. Maggard, uh, he has hired a lot of like coaches that have ties to the school, especially since transfer portal came out, like Coach Des, um, uh, Allison Habits. Matt Deggs, those three coaches all had some relationship with the university way before then. So that's something to look at here. So let's talk about Ragin Cajun baseball. Um, Speaking of Deggs, coming off a series win against Georgia Southern, but man, I felt like they could have swept Georgia Southern. Like they gave it up late in the game on Sunday. Disappointing to say the least here. Well, not late, but like, five, they had a 3-run, 5-run inning here, I guess midway point, yeah. But they did get the series win, which is something they needed. They were on a 4-game winning streak up to that point. So right now they're 22 and 24, 12 and 9 in conference, which crazy enough as it is. They're still like right there. RPI is insanely high at 123. For them to, I think for them to come back and get in that large, I think that's kind of almost that's even out the window for them because all they got left is Georgia State at 143 with the series coming in this weekend. Southern Miss at RPI of 32. Then you got Arkansas State at 150. Looking ahead with those three series here, I don't think the Cajuns, even if they were to win all three of these series, it just wouldn't increase your RPI enough to really make a dent there. I feel like they themselves are going to have to win the conference title. Um, as far as regular season goes, Cajuns are 5 games back of Coastal. Coastal swept, so they were able to increase the lead over the Cajuns by 1 game. Now, softball, I mean, the baseball, they look better off again at large. Like Southern Miss, RPI of 32, they're getting in if they don't win the tournament. I say this, I feel the same way about Coastal themselves here. I feel like they're going to get in too. I feel like Troy will as well with 44 here, but we'll see what happens with all that there. We'll see what the Cajuns are able to muster up this weekend against Georgia State. What do you think about this Ragin Cajun baseball team as of late, Jalen?
Hey, as a late chief, they've been winning. I mean, I don't think there's any. I mean, besides Game 3 Sunday against Georgia Southern, but you think about like you talked about in that game, they had to lead. So I think minus, and we could just scratch out the Grambling game because they got canceled because of rain and lightning. Even though I thought the Cajuns were still going to win that one, but I mean, when you look back at it, since they won the series against Old Dominion and they won Game 3, they've been on a winning streak up to this loss, but they've been playing well. I mean, it's the time is now to win. They're playing better, and hey, it might be close games, but like we talked about in softball, you're able to win. They won the first 2 games against Georgia Southern, putting up 4 runs, putting up 7 runs. They're able to get the hits. Their pitching is playing a lot better down the stretch, and guess who's left? Georgia State, who's kind of at the bottom. Southern Miss, who's right at the top of the Sun Belt. And then you have Arkansas State, who's not too far behind from the Cajuns when it comes to Sun Belt standings. So I think with these next 3 series, they're not going to be it's going to be tough because 2 of those 3 are on the road, and one of those on the road is against Southern Miss, who's not only one of the top teams in the Sun Belt, but they're also on a 5-game winning streak. So, like you said, the Southern Miss and Coastal and Troy, they'll probably get at large bids. The Cajuns just need to pull these wins. Getting 2 or 3 against Southern Miss on the road would be a start. But at first, I don't want to overstep Georgia State, but I think they're going to sweep Georgia State. But when it comes to Southern Miss, I think if they take 2 or 3, that'll be very, very, very good as far as momentum and everything heading into the matchup against Arkansas State and the Sun Belt tournament, which their tournament is not too far. I mean, it's further down than softball, but the tournament is still right around the corner. And yeah, I feel like the Cajuns will have the momentum going into it, and they need every single game to be able to get to the big dance.
Well, what's been happening lately? You've been seeing the emergence of the freshmen coming along, like the younger guys on the lineup, really making some strides here in these games here lately. Just and that's what happens over the course of a season. You might have a rough start, but then the freshmen start getting better at it. So that's something to look at and see what has, happened. I mean, like they've been in worse spots than this here. I mean, they stranded 11 runners on Sunday. Uh, they snapped. They got their win streak snapped. I mean, it happens, you know, all the time here. U Haas and Connor Higgs each hit doubles in that game. Um, but yeah, just getting the younger guys involved, I think, has been a really big part of this Cajun lineup for the last couple of weeks here. If we're going by game basis here, so the Cajuns, if you look at their at bats, if you want to look at that here, they've been kind of like around that, especially later on in the year. I was seeing like some 29s. Okay, they had one on the Friday. Friday they had 29 at bats, 34 on the Saturday. They've been getting at least 32 to 35 at bats consistently, especially with at UOM, the 36, 32, 32, 35, 35. They've been getting to the plate more, so that means you're definitely getting more done here. But looking at hits, they've had 12, 8, 8, 16, and 10. And then, Sunday only had 6 hits. So it's they're looking a lot better. I would say here, getting hits and getting guys on board here. The bat's starting to heat up a little bit more. RBIs, that kind of thing is starting to flow a little bit more here. With that. So we'll see what happens with it all at the end of the day and how much of a difference does that make. So um we will see here. Like, the errors are one thing that I think that was a problem for the Cajuns. I think they have really stopped doing that as much lately, which has been a blessing here. I mean, they've had 2 errors on Sunday. It reared its ugly head on Sunday. Saturday, with the Friday and Saturday game kind of being all measured together, which really a good thing. So um, we were there for the Friday and Saturday games, basically. Not really the Friday game, but like we went to Saturday, so to kind of give like just to watch and see. And they played really well. They were definitely in the zone that game, so that's something that you love to see here. Hopefully the Cajuns do end up playing a little bit better down the stretch and start getting more warmed up and getting heat, like getting at least 10, 11 hits in every game from here on out would be nice for the Cajuns. But I think that's something we could look at here and just be like, hey, it's something that we're really looking forward to, and I think they can really make a big difference when we get later on down to the end of this season here. So looking at the softball stand, I mean not softball. I keep wanting to say softball. Baseball
Yeah, you're
standings, the Cajuns
excited
are
about softball, Chief. We understand.
yes, yes, I'm excited about softball. 5 games back. They're mathematically they're still alive for it, but with Coastal, they've only dropped 4 conference games, and I don't. Southern Miss is a looking at it with the schedule. I think so. Like thinking with them, here Coastal's got App State, then ULM, and then at Old Dominion. So it's not looking too promising. So for any one of them to win the series against Coastal, but it happens. It's Sun Belt, Fun Belt. We get it, but um, I think Cajuns do take. So I picked softball. I actually didn't make a pick for softball. I think they will win the series against Southern Miss. Ragin Cajuns Softball. I think they at least take 2 or 3. Georgia State. I think they will take this series against them and get. I they need a. I feel like they need a sweep, man. I feel like they just need a sweep. A sweep against them and Arkansas State would be chef kiss because I don't know how that Southern Miss series is gonna go. I think they'll win at least one game against Southern Miss. I just don't think they will beat them because Southern Miss is really good this year. So I think they just looking ahead. I feel like they need to sweep Georgia State, but I think they'll take 2 or 3. I'm gonna go conservative with it. I got them being in at 14-10 in conference once it's all said and done after this weekend. What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I still have them sweeping Georgia State. I mean, I might it might be a stretch, especially going to Atlanta playing them, but I think the Cajuns just the way they've been playing lately, I think they'll take 2 of 3. And then when it comes to Southern Miss, I want them to take 2 of 3. I think they need to take 2 of 3. But if I had to pick today, I think they'll take one game in Hattiesburg.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see that happening. I mean, we'll see what happens here. With everybody here. We'll see what happens here. Connor Higgs been having the best year of all the Cajuns, hitting 338. Yeah. Owen Galt, 293. Jose
It's
Torres,
a
291.
it's a lot of great teams this year in the Sun Belt in baseball.
Yeah, you just want to try and see what happens with it all. That's just the kind of the thing. We'll see what happens though. Uh, it, their RPI is so high for the Cajuns. But you don't want to lose too much ground in the conference standings because you want to try to put yourself in the best position possible here for whenever the Sun Belt tournament does start, you will be okay. Because if you look at this baseball standings, where they're at, being 5 games back of Coastal, you're right there. I mean, you're mathematically alive. You just
Hmm.
that's all you can be here. I mean, you're like fourth in the standings right now. You're only 1 game ahead of Arkansas State nationally, but you will play Arkansas State, so that could very well determine your seeding and where you're going to be at. But looking at where they got these, let's see, here's the PDF for it. That's, they didn't have one for the softball like this, which I thought was interesting. But looking at it here, like this is a nicer format. Definitely, like, come on, y'all need to put that with the softball thing here. All games played on Tuesday will be a single elimination. That's the 7th through the 10th seed. So you like same situation as softball. You don't want to get lower than the 6th seed here because you'll be in bad shape because you have to play that single elimination because you don't want to be in a single elimination situation. A double elimination would be the best way possible. 3 seed and the 6th seed. So that's where the Cajuns right now would be that um 4th seed. If it ended right now, they'd be playing the 5th seed. Then they would either go on to take on whoever comes out of the first. If they lose, they would go to the loser bracket, loser game five, and take on the loser game six, would be the number 1 seed, or whoever comes out of that first round single elimination games, basically. I think it's the eight, 9 seed would go to that game six. 7 through 10 seed would go through to game four. Looking at it there, so just to kind of share my screen here real quick, just so y'all can see what's going on. Share that. Yeah, so this is what I've been talking about here. I wonder if I can minimize this. Hide thumbnail. Yeah. So looking at that here, just looking at this, Cajuns would end up being like right here if it ended today. So the winner, um, this might not even happen. 4 o'clock. The number 1 seed does have the ability to do the 4 or 7:30 on Wednesday. So they might play at 7:30 or 4 o'clock. If I was number 1 seed, I would take that 4 o'clock game, I think. I wouldn't want to be up, you know. I would take the 4 o'clock because in case I win, I wouldn't want to be in a 7:30. Like I would get a little bit more rest, basically. That's just it's not much rest, but it's 3 more hours. So
Yeah,
hey,
but
it
something
might.
is better than nothing, though.
Yeah. So that four, you only get one, and then if you can win, you get two. You go into the championship right here. So 3 games, you just win straight. All you have to do, depending and everybody else have to come up through the bracket. So hopefully the Cajuns only do 3 games in the Sun Belt Conference Series, but that's a little bit getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here just to see what's going on. So yeah, let's get out of this here and go back on screen here. But yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen here. I think Cajuns take a two. I think they need to sweep them, but I don't think they're consistent enough yet. I think having that them sweep would be huge, but I think 2 out of 3. What do you think, Jalen? You got them taking 2 or 3 over Georgia State, Jalen?
When it comes to, oh, I do have them. Well, I know I said sweep. I'm gonna stick with it. You know what? I'm sticking with it. I think the Cajuns will sweep Georgia State. I think they need to. Georgia State is kind of at the bottom of the barrel in the Sun Belt. I think they'll sweep Georgia State.
All right, sounds good. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in to this episode here of the Fishbowl Sports Radio. Hope you have a great and wonderful time here. You can catch us on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and you can find us basically anywhere here basically. So we're all over the socials here for sure. Here, I'm trying to make sure I got it right. X, Facebook X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Yeah, that's our 5 that we mostly use. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great, wonderful day. We're gonna see you here next time here on the Fishbowl Sports Radio. We have like highlights to show y'all from Sunday. Like we usually just highlights from the games and stuff. So hope y'all enjoy those. And we'll see you here next time here on the Fishbowl Sports Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.